Morgan's Game Therapy, a channel where a random internet stranger reads things posted on the internet and voices her many opinions on the matter. I hope your day-night weekend is going well, and I hope you enjoy the video. I guess I kind of dropped off the face of the world for a while, huh? End of the year is a bit of a scorcher at work, which means I had no time to stay up all night recording videos. But no one cares about that. The important part is that the year is almost over. Yay! A late Merry Christmas to my Christmas celebrating peoples, and a Happy New Year to everyone, because everyone knows New Year is the best holiday. For these videos, I picked not just a random assortment of horror stories like I usually do, but multi-part stories. So each video will be one multi-part story making up a whole big story. So that's a new thing I'm trying. I had to look around on RPG horror stories quite a bit to find some of the longer ones that are not super well known, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I don't die recording all of these today. I also didn't pre-read any of them, so you'll be getting my first-hand reaction to these and me breaking my tongue over potentially some horrible formatting. Here's hoping that there is no animal cruelty in these, like there was in that one story, because I don't know if I can handle that today, or ever. Anyways, I think I've talked for long enough. Today's extra long story is The Campaign That Went Through 4 Homebrewed Settings by Alki Modon. Longtime poster, first-time lurker. Writing from my mobile. English is my second language. Relatable. So, this game took place several years ago. More than 5 years ago. I am no longer playing with this DM, nor am I associating with them either. Setting number 1. Asmodeus, god of hell, king of Baator, the coolest mother effer to ever mother F, had won the Blood War. In fact, he super won the Blood War, crushing all opposition. All of chaos, good and evil that wasn't hell got destroyed. All of it. Actually, that sounds pretty fun. That's an interesting concept of evil existing without good and all the other stuff. Could be interesting to explore. So Asmodeus took all of the planes and realities and mushed it all together into one massive planet/plane of hell. So now all that exists is Baator world. No heaven, no elemental planes, no shadow, no nothing else. So, no material plane either. Wonder how that works. Baator world is divided into 9 regions, quote-unquote, like tropical region, Arctic region, etc., with one Lord of Hell ruling a region each. So it's basically the circles of hell, but they're biomes of hell. Asmodeus is king of all, super powerful. Devil kind rules completely in this world where mortal races are still allowed to exist somehow. The PCs are part of the Resistance, a group of mortals that are somehow fighting back against the entire planet. Looking back, I don't know how this ish was supposed to make sense. I knew it would end in a big fight against the god of hell. The DM really loves JRPGs where you fight God at the end. Hey, nothing wrong with that, fighting God is fun. Before I get the cast or the actual story, please allow me to inform you of the charming house rules this game has. 1. The Conjuration School of Magic doesn't work with the exception of healing. Any teleportation does not work because there is no astral plane to zip through. Summoning does not work because there is nothing to call from nowhere. The DM thought that these abilities were too broken, so he didn't want them in the game. The game has 3 players only. 2. This other rule is hard to explain. We're playing with the Gestalt rules of D&D 3.5 from Unearthed Arcana, I believe. Meaning that you picked 2 classes and got the powers of both. When the 2 classes had the same thing, you picked the better option. E.g., if you picked Wizard/Fighter, you would get all the wizard spells, but you would have the fighter's hit points and combat powers. But these Gestalt rules had a twist. We're playing Pathfinder. So one of our Gestalt classes had to be from Pathfinder and the other had to be from 3.5 D&D. Okay, that's complicated. I've never played 3.5, but I know that Pathfinder was based on 3.5, but it's also fairly different. I feel like there's going to be problems there. Further point on this Gestalt rule. The class that you picked from 3.5 could not have been one that exists in Pathfinder. You could not pick Pathfinder Summoner / 3.5 Wizard because Pathfinder has a Wizard class. That sound you're hearing is the gears in your brain grinding to a halt in a death screech of confusion. That is exactly what I am doing right now, yeah, that is the sound. To those uninitiated, mixing additions like this is a hot mess filled with folly. 3. If you picked a Prestige class, either from 3.5 D&D or Pathfinder, you would not Gestalt. You just picked one Prestige and leveled that up. Because. Dramatis Personae. I hope I'm saying that right. My Latin, and I think this is Latin, is not, I only know medical Latin. I don't know, like, any other Latin. I'm sorry. DM. Let's call him Darius Melvin. Jesus. Okay. Darius. By the setting and house rules, you can tell that Darius is a guy that really likes devils and really likes his quirky rules. There's nothing wrong with either of those, to be honest, in moderation. While he was setting this game up, I tried explaining to him that since we were 3 players, restricting a very handy school of magic is going to make the game unnecessarily harder. Darius would not budge. The only summoning allowed was the Eidolon pet from the Summoner class, but not the Summon Monster spell-like ability of the class. Well, that's dumb. If you can summon your Eidolon from somewhere, why can't you summon your summons from somewhere? These are the players. Scion Pete. Pete played a Kobold Scion, and is one of the chillest dudes I know. He didn't last long in this game. Lucky him. Long Haul Luke. Luke stuck with me and Darius all the way until the end of the game. All throughout all 4 settings up until the final session. We were both there for every session. Flaky Fred. Fred joined up sometime after Scion Pete left. He just stopped showing up after a while. Nope, hey guys, can't make it to the game, sorry, or my dudes, I'm so busy this week, my bad, or even a oops, I forgot there was a game. And finally, me, your storyteller. If you're sharp and savvy, you'll notice that I only included one race/class combo up there. The reason being that I changed characters so often, I'll be mentioning what I was playing at the moment. I forgot what Flaky Fred was playing, and Long Luke always played something with a sword as our tank of sorts. Paladin! Paladin! I'm kidding, it doesn't mean he played a paladin, I just want to insert paladins into every game because they are awesome, and everyone should play them. So, first session. I think that our characters had a regular 9-to-5 slave job. Okay? I think that our characters had a regular 9-to-5 slave job working for the devils, and on the weekends we would go to the resistance to get our missions. Casual slavery for the main characters. I know it fits the setting, it's just, for some reason I did not expect that to be a thing. Scion Pete is playing a Kobold Scion / I don't remember with a feat from Races of Dragons, I think, that makes him have all the bonuses from Venerable Age, +3 to all mental stats, with no repercussions. Pete is essentially an old, tiny, scaly grandpa that can make your head explode, which is awesome. I'm stealing that idea for something. Not sure what yet. Long Luke is playing a human, I think, Duskblade, I think, / I don't remember. He is the tank by default. And I am playing a homebrew Illithid with no Mind Blast, but I can eat brains if the target is knocked out. I am embarrassed that this was the candy that made me say yes to this mess of a game. Ranger / Binder. Our first mission is to infiltrate a warehouse and get a thing for the resistance. Either info on the devils or a magical doodad or supplies, I forget. We make our way to the warehouse, and between us and our objective is a devil. Some CR2 or 3 flying mother effer that could shoot barbs. Being level 1 with no magic gear meant that this was a very long fight. The devil cleverly kept its distance the whole time. Luke could only throw like 1 magic missile before he ran out. I plunked away with arrows, hoping the weapon damage die would roll higher than a 5. And Scion Pete tried mind thrusting at the thing, while it effortlessly made half the saves and took no damage. It died eventually. I eat its brain for sustenance. We get the thing, whatever it was, and we return to the Resistant, triumphant in our first mission. More to come. Alright, I mean, on first glance, it sounds like the DM is being overly ambitious. I don't think the whole devil thing is a big issue in and of itself so far, because devils are pretty cool, and it seems like an interesting concept to have a world where the devils rule, as opposed to just having a campaign set in the Hells where the devils already rule. On to part 2. We're still in Beta World trademark, and we're part of the Resistance. I don't have a session-by-session memory of events given how long ago it was, and me trying to forget about all this. I also forgot of another player that we had at the beginning but didn't make it to the end. They had other responsibilities crop up, lucky him. We'll call him Cool Carlos. He had a human, I think, and he was a spell thief / I can't remember. A running gag of Beta World concerned a particular spell. You know how the Detect Magic and Detect Evil spells have rules for auras in order to determine how strong they are? Actually, I don't know that. I wish you would explain that, actually. I could look it up, but I'm not going to, because this is a long story, and I'm lazy. And you know how the Detect Magic spell is used to read the auras of objects, places, and creatures? That I did know. Yay, I feel so smart. And you know that the thing where if you read the aura of something whose aura is more than twice the power of your level, you get dazed as the aura overwhelms the spell and ends it? It's a rule that Darius Melvin, the DM, liked a lot. Like, a lot. Every item we found, regardless of its actual effect or importance, was an epic hell item trademark. I recall that once, on the absence of any item or creature to scan, we used it and Darius still had the effect happen because the ground itself counts as an epic magic effect due to all the planes being smooshed together by Asmodeus, King of Hell. Anyway, onto the story. We get another mission from the Resistance. This time, we have to hit a supply train with resources for the Resistance. I forget how we get into the moving train, but we do. We eventually get to the training car... The training car? The driving car of the train, and the devil conductor. Why is the devil conducting the train? I would actually have them make all the boring jobs go to the mortals, because why wouldn't you? They're stupid and disposable, and you're devils and you're cool, right? We have a fight, and it drags on. The devil is higher CR than the three of us. Devil resistance to damage still sucks. We're on the fight long enough that one of the drawbacks of one of my vestiges, spirit power of the Binder class, kicks in. I'm channeling Andrus, the Grey Knight, and I've succumbed to his influence. Andrus's influence dictates that a fight lasts longer than 10 rounds, you have to disengage, F off, and refuse to fight for a few rounds. Damn, okay, coward much? The fight lasted long enough that I had to step out, much to Darius Melvin's delight. It lasted long enough that I was allowed to step back in. We eventually defeat the devil conductor. I eat his brain, and we report back to the Resistance. Time passes. I'm unsure how many missions / sessions we do before this one, but the trend of only fighting devils higher level than us continues throughout. We get another mission from the Resistance. I completely forget what it was, but we have to go somewhere and do something. As part of the mission, we have to sneak around one of the devil cities. We have an encounter with a devil that asks us what we're doing. We roll some bluff checks to move along. Darius Melvin isn't just spray painting townsfolk with red paint and calling it a day. He's actually got the goddamned monster book open and is using the devils as they are written. So this random town devil has a really high sense motive check, and we're barely making the rolls to trick him that we're harmless and we don't have any powers. Oh yeah, class powers are illegal if you're mortal. Because, of course. Okay, how does that work? What does it mean by class powers? That's not an in-world mechanic, right? That's a game mechanic. Like, what is a fighter class power? Having a big-ass sword? Attacking more than once in 6 seconds? We eventually get past this guy and keep going. Head to some sewers towards our objective. We get jumped in the sewers by evil spiders or something, and we fight as best we can. But then a devil shows up doing maintenance inspections on the sewers or something. Again, why are they not using humans or mortals in general to do this kind of thing? Like, what's the point of keeping them alive if you're not making them clean your drains? I forget exactly what level we were, but I do know what devil that was. An ambassador devil from a book I owned, and I believe I was lending to the DM at the time. This dude was more than 4 levels above us, nearly impossible to fight on level alone, and he had an aura of diplomatic immunity. If you attacked him, you had to roll a will save in order to make the attack, for every single individual attack you made against him. And true to form for Darius Melvin, his sense motive was that of an ambassador devil, not scaled back at all for our lowbie buds. So he eventually susses out that we're from the resistance, or at least illegal mortals, so he orders us to follow him. Disobeying devils is very illegal. I think I tried to cast a spell or run away or something, and he used mind control to get me to stop and get back on the rails. Ooh, that's never a good sign, mind controlling your players. So, Sewer Inspection Devil takes us through passages and into an elevator. I love how that's you nicknamed him that, and the fact that in a world where devils are the elite, there's still Sewer Inspection Devils. The elevator lifts us into a super tower / office building. In the main office, we meet, if memory serves, Glacia, Princess of Hell, daughter of Asmodeus. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I've never actually heard it being spoken. She informs us that we're working for her now. Okay. Through some magic, she lets us know that the resistance has been destroyed. If we do as she says, we won't be executed for being rebels and having magic. So, Glacia, our new boss, gives us our first mission. We have to take down a rogue devil. The devil of nightmares or something. So, off we go. It's a castle, and the devil is at the tippy top. We see a monster in the distance guarding the entrance that sees us too, and combat begins. We're 30 feet away from it as we're rolling initiative, and Darius Melvin places us as he pleases on the grid. Jumping ahead for a bit, I later mentioned to DM that it was unfair how the monster at the gate just saw us without rolling anything. I argued that the monster should roll perception and we should have a chance to ambush monsters. Darius Melvin says that he doesn't like it when PCs ambush monsters. They deal too much damage. So from now on, ambushes simply will never work. I ask what good is my perception skill then? DM has no answer. Always a good sign. I ask if I can move my skill points to something else. Darius Melvin says no. My character's set in stone. I, like a complete moron, stay in the game. So we fight the gate monster, kill it, and make our way inside. Somewhere along the way, as we're exploring the castle, which we can't verify anything of because of the detect magic shenanigans that DM thinks is hilarious, we encounter a friendly devil that decides to pal around with us. He had a name which I forget, and he'll die at the end of the adventure anyway. Still exploring the castle, we encounter the mini-boss, a homebrew monstrosity with 4 arms with swords, huge, and lots of hit points. Darius Melvin was purposely obfuscating how it worked or what abilities it had. Since it was his own homebrew monster and was an experiment thing the Devil of Nightmares created, we knew nothing about it. It didn't matter how high I rolled with my monster knowledge stat, we didn't even know its type. Scion Pete was trying to mind thrust it, but it wasn't working. I ask if it's resistant or immune to the attack, and Darius Melvin says that there's no way to tell. How is there no way to tell if a monster is taking half damage or no damage? From any attack, really, it doesn't really matter the type. I use the quick bind feat to bind a vestige as a full round action in order to lower its saves and let Scion Pete get some damage in. He's immune to all mind-affecting abilities, says Darius Melvin. And he was also immune to sneak attacks, so Cool Carlos couldn't do much either. Apparently the DM's logic is that we had it too easy, so this fight was to take us down a peg. It was to teach us that things were getting harder. Even though we're always fighting devils higher level than us, with bonus HP, and the fights drag on so long that we have 2 fights per session on average because they eat so much time. Anyway, Cool Carlos and I die in that fight. The mini-boss killed us. Longhaul, Luke, and Scion Pete loot the homebrew monster and find 2 potions of true resurrection on it. What luck, huh? They shove a potion down Cool Carlos's throat and he comes back. I decide to stay dead. In part, I am pissed. Bullshit homebrew monster immune to more than half of the stuff the party has? Melvin designed him so bad that the 2 PCs die even though he was supposed to be a mini-boss? And the DM doesn't even recognize that as a, oops, I shouldn't have done that? I just say that I'll roll up a new character. We're in the middle of a magic castle, so there's no way someone new can walk in. Darius Melvin tells me to play the devil buddy the party made in the castle. He writes up some quick stats for him instead of just playing him as he is in the monster manual for some reason. And we keep going. We make it to the ceiling of the castle, and the Devil of Nightmares is waiting for us in his boss area. Roll initiative. Fight ensues. Boss is tough as nails. Level is way above our party, has a crap load of hit points, and I think he's also homebrew, but I don't rightly recall. I think he looked like a JRPG knockoff. I'm imagining Sephiroth now for some reason. Just fighting a giant Sephiroth with horns. I don't know why that's the image that jumped into my head. Very, very lengthy fight. As is usual for the boss encounter of this session, there's lots of moments where someone drops and potions have to be shoved down unconscious throats. I start playing the devil buddy that I'm controlling really reckless to help the party out. I provoke attacks of opportunity so that other PCs can drink potions and move freely. Darius Melvin starts bitching that the devil dude isn't suicidal and wouldn't fight like that. I just point out that I'm controlling him now and that's how I'm playing him. Or I just make up some bullshit about him really taking a liking to the PCs and hating the boss. The devil dude dies from the boss. Longhaul Luke and Cool Carlos are down and bleeding. Scion Pete is alone and is able to finally kill the boss. There's a fake out where the whole fight was a dream and the real Devil of Nightmares is a weak, frail devil dude that tries to get away, but Scion Pete makes his head explode or sets him on fire. Yay! We win! Sometime after this, Cool Carlos bowed out of the game. Given how tough that fight in the castle ceiling was and how tough fights were in general, how we were down one player, how those house rules stayed in place, and how everything that we were fighting was hard as hell, I decided to quit the I wish I had the strength to do that back then. I decided to talk to the DM about the difficulty and hopefully get him to ease off. It was a disaster. Darius Melvin seemed to take it as an insult. As I was starting to criticize the game, he just up and started leaving my house where we usually played and where we were chatting at the moment. I talked him into staying, mentioned the points I wanted to mention, but being as soft as possible. He said he'd consider it, but still left after the conversation. Next time we meet up to play, he mentions to Scion Pete and Longhaul Luke that I approached him about the difficulty. Puts me on the spot to tell them what I've told him. I repeated myself and suggest that Darius Melvin just lowers the difficulty of the game. Scion Pete says he has no problem with combat. I counter that his character always hangs back while Longhaul Luke and me tank and take all the damage. The Devil Nightmare ceiling fight was one of the few times he's ever taken damage. Pete says the difficulty isn't an issue for him. I remind Longhaul Luke that on almost every fight he's getting dropped to negatives. Longhaul Luke just laughs it off and says it doesn't bother him. DM says that's 2 votes against lowering difficulty and for 1-4. Majority wins. I pointed out they didn't vote for the difficulty to remain. They both said they didn't care. If anything, they abstained. So 1 vote to lower difficulty, mine, and 2 abstaining votes. Yeah, but I'm the DM, says Darius Melvin. Difficulty stays as is. Sigh. Anyway, I make a new character. A half-orc bard / true namer. Some of you just cringe so hard it hurts. I feel ya. This character was a little wild. He had an artifact from a big book of artifacts that I had purchased. Darius Melvin allowed it as long as I rolled 3d6 in a row for my ability scores. Looking forward to novelty as the only motivation to keep playing, I agreed. I had enough charisma to cast my bard spells, and low enough constitution to have a penalty to health gained when I leveled up. It was the Lucky Coin written by Rich Burlow, if you're curious. I don't know what any of that means, but rolling stats in a row sounds like an adventure. The only thing of note from this character is that he died from bad luck backlash from the artifact, and that thanks to the True Namer mechanic, the DM had to tell me the CR of what we were fighting, or he would have to do extra math for every fight. Darius Melvin chose the path of least resistance. Little True Namer joke for those who get it. He would pick up a die, show me the CR, and tell me not to tell the other PCs. This is one of the ways that I knew that we were always fighting above our pay grade. So, we get one final mission from Glacia. Go to some place that I forgot where, and do things that I forget what it was. It culminates with a boss fight. All I remember from the boss is that it could fly, so there was that. I believe that we did manage to kill the boss, and then Glacia shows up. The fight took place on a rooftop as well. Suddenly, there is an earthquake, and a strange light and rumbling are emanating from Asmodeus' tower. The tower is so big it can be seen from everywhere in Beta World. I don't recall if Beta World was flat, so make of that what you will. Glacia is either confused or knows exactly what's going on and doesn't tell us. She, for some reason, casts Petrify on us. So Silent Pete, Longho Luke, and my new character that I don't remember at all get totally stoned. Ha. Time passes. We get unstoned. There's some wizard guy looking at us quizzically. What is this, Dr. Stone? This dude is surprised that we weren't statues. This guy isn't a devil. He doesn't look like a member of the Resistance. The sky isn't blood red as always. There's no massive Asmodeus tower in the horizon. The ground isn't pulsing red with evil trademark. We talk to this wizard guy and we puzzle out that Beta World is merely a long-forgotten legend that few scholars consider might be true. Welcome to setting number 2. Okay, but to be fair, that is a pretty good transition. I think it warranted a conversation between the DM and the players, but this is actually a pretty neat transition from one time period to another. Anyways, on to part number 3 of 5. This is going to be a very long video. God damn. So, we the PCs got petrified in Beta World, and then unpetrified millions of years later. The wizard that frees us explains that Beta World is a myth, and he is one of the few, or only, scholars that believe in that whacked-out theory. So, we're in setting number 2. I would like to clear up that when this game was pitched to us, only the first setting, the Gestalt rules and house rules were mentioned. Though I've been calling this story the campaign that went through 4 homebrew settings, we PCs didn't know the shenanigans would be happening. And I honestly don't know how much of this was planned by Darius Melvin and how much was him getting bored with his own ideas and torching them. Setting number 2 is very dumb, but it's mostly logistics. The world is supposed to be a normal fantasy world, different races around, different people with different customs, inns, guard towers, libraries, different societies instead of the one devil society dominating all. Devils aren't running around ruling things. Indeed, creatures from beyond the mortal realm are probably rare now. Here's my question. There was no mortal realm. He just smashed all the realms together, so it was just hell. Did hell become the material plane? Or did something create the material plane? I feel like there's a lot of plot holes in here. There's even an adventures, I have grown to hate that word lately, as it is super lazy storycraft, guild that takes missions, coordinates, info, has a teleportation system set up to facilitate missions for agents, the whole shebang. I take offense to Adventurers Guild being lazy. It says what it is on the tin. It's like a bank. Being a bank. I don't know. This world has a global population of 11,000 people. That's it? That's not enough. You just said that there was, like, different societies and ish. 11,000 people? There's more people in some villages. That sound that you're hearing is the echo of my head exploding from sheer incredulity from years back. It's still going, as it follows the expansion of the universe. Anyway, all this lovely info is imparted on us by this wizard that unpetrifies us. I've been avoiding naming him or describing him because he needs his own section, which is what I'm gonna do now. Marzipan, not his real name, but you know how it is. The Lich. Sigh. Effing kill me. So, this character, he's one of Darius Melvin's pet recurring NPCs. He shows up in a lot of his games, regardless of tone or how appropriate it would be for the situation. Marzipan is a lich that's so old, ancient, long existing, and powerful that he is no longer evil. His alignment is apathetic neutral. Honestly same, but also that's not how that works. Marzipan humble brags that he no longer cares for evil or stereotypical lich things because he already conquered the entire world once with an undead army and now he's like so over it. Pshaw. Right. For the most part, we half believe him. Silent Pete was hilarious. His character kept insisting that it was all bullcrap. It was all a devil illusion. He would play along, but he knew what was up. Silent Pete was so convincing, I even asked him if he really believed it could be a devil plot. He made a face that simultaneously said, "Oh, of course not, OP. Are you really that gullible?" At this point, given the new setting and the uselessness of playing the same character, I opt to switch characters. My petrified character is retconned to have debris fall on him and he couldn't be recovered. So I rolled up an old minion of Marzipan that decided to join the beta world characters because reasons. My new character was a Warforged Artificer / Anti-Paladin. So with no other motivation, we join up the adventurers. Grrr, guild. We do some missions for them, but only a few things are memorable enough to stick out. At one point, we're riding on a taxi that's a giant crab, led by a druid. Amazing. Stealing that. Best idea ever. We ride inside the crab after entering through its mouth, and there's an area that's like a comfy cruise ship lounge inside its guts. Okay, a little weirder. Stealing the idea of the crab, definitely not the part where you ride inside his guts. That's weird. A mission, I don't remember what we were doing or whether we succeeded or not, culminates with a boss fight with a Fey Lord with a dark cape that moves in a cool and mysterious way. The Fey Lord with a dark cape is a really tough fight, one of the toughest and longest we have. The Fey Lord's dark cape gives him concealment. I really hope there's a reason why the word dark is in all caps, but I'm enjoying saying dark cape. I think it was 20%, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 50%. The Fey Lord's dark cape was also buffing his AC and saving throws, I believe, but finally, after a long, very long, and grueling fight, we kill him. When confronted as to why that boss fight was so effing tough, Darius Melvin chastises us for not noticing the obvious hint. His cape was dark, like the darkness spell. Obviously, we had to use the light spell. I point out that light is a 0th level spell, so a cantrip. Darkness is a 2nd level spell. In the description of the light spell, it specified that it can only counter darkness magic of its level or lower, i.e. a bloody 0 level spell, not a super magic cape wielded by a Fey Lord. "You should have tried anyway. It would have worked," alleges Darius Melvin. I bet it wouldn't. I bet it would not work. I am 100% convinced if they had tried that, he would have laughed and be like, "Your spell level is too low to compete with this darkness." This is my theory, my game theory. I will die on this hill. This won't be the last time that I'll run into a problem due to the DM's less than perfect grasp on the rules of magic. At some point during setting 2, Cool Carlos has to bow out and leave. I believe that I rework my Warforged character to Artificer / Oracle, so there's at least some bloody healing magic in the party. Despite the world being normal and teleportation magic working perfectly fine, summoning magic is still banned. I strongly suspect that Darius Melvin feared that with careful positioning of extra monsters on the board, I would have lowered these obnoxiously long and extra hard encounters to merely slightly annoyingly long and fairly difficult encounters. Though some contrivance, we get access to a crystal ball that shows us a great peril. There's an evil sword that is possessed by an evil spirit of evil. Some young kid picks it up and gets overtaken by the evil. Then we see how the evil sword, this evil isn't capitalized, it's a shame. Then we see how the evil sword kid starts running tirelessly and killing anyone that's within its perception. Okay, murder hobo kid. I think we see him kill about 100 people, and I think I make the joke that that's almost 1/10 of the entire population right there. 10%. Yeah, that's pretty funny actually. We get the mission to go kill that thing and very carefully retrieve the sword. So we do. Lots of hit points. On the kid? I mean, that's some beefy kid. Very long fight that feels like it takes forever. When the sword is close to being defeated, it opens up the dead zone from Dragon Ball Z and we all get sucked in. So they were fighting the sword. Okay, that makes more sense. So now we're all inside the sword in a stasis lock. Until we're all released from the dead zone. Marzipan releases us. We're in unfamiliar surroundings. I think I know where this is going. It looks like a museum. There are other magic items and bits and bobs in display cases. Marzipan is delighted to see us. Here's the curator of the Cosmic Museum. That's what I'm calling him now, don't remember the name. And he's finally proven that the mythical ancient legend of the Dead Zone sword is true. So, the wheel turns again. Millions of years have passed. The previous world is a myth. No book survives that even mentions Beta World saves from Marzipan's journal of our witness testimony. Wait, did you say that Marzipan was like centuries old and he probably would have been around during Beta World, ? Well, our previous character's witness testimony. At this point, I'm playing my Warforged, which I'm going to retire for reasons I'll get at in the next post. Cool Carlos has already left. Silent Pete leaves now, or had done so before this bit. Flaky Fred is going to be joining soon with a new character. Longhaul Luke had a character die at some point in setting 2. No character remains from the original setting. No TPKs though. Although I suspect that fudging may have happened in setting 1 versus the Devil of Nightmare fight to prevent said TPK. Setting 3, changes in rules, a new player. All this and more next time. I am still very amused by the fact that that one kid killed 10% of the world's population and that was like normal and fine and no one was doing it. I think the DM just keeps trying to find what he wants to run. I empathize with being stuck in a setting and wanting something new, but this is not how you do it. This is just not it. Alright, we have 2 more parts to go. I really hope that it gets better and not worse. On to part 4. So, we're at setting number 3. And things are going to change a bit. Cool Carlos left before the setting shift. Silent Pete left at this moment or shortly before. And we're getting a new player, Flaky Fred. Flaky Fred already had a bit of a reputation for being flaky. We'd set up a date to go see a movie or hang out or whatever, and he wouldn't show. We'd call him on the day we were supposed to meet up, and he would not be able to get an answer. He'd respond back after a few days and offer a flimsy excuse or none. Darius Melvin added him to the game, I think only so he would have an excuse to keep difficulty as high as he liked. I don't remember what class Flaky Fred was. He was human, I think. Another change is that Darius Melvin changed the rules on us as well. We were no longer rolling with Gestalt rules. We were now playing regular Pathfinder, no 3.5 material, the ban on Conjuration summoning was lifted, but I don't even care at that point. I think this is actually a good solution. He probably realized that it's very complicated to have both rule sets at once. This is what he should have done at the very beginning. Due to the changes to class and rules, I think that Longhaul Luke changed character or reworked his existing guy. I wouldn't play an Eberron 3.5 Warforged anymore due to 3.5 being banned. I don't think banned is the right word here. And I had no interest in Darius Melvin's homebrewed Warforged race variant at all. Although I ended up playing a changeling from 3.5 Eberron as a monk. I guess that changelings weren't broken enough to ban for Darius Melvin. Wait, I am confused. I thought you just switched to Pathfinder. How are you still playing? This is just weird. I'm so confused. Before I decided on wait, Pathfinder has changelings. Pathfinder 2e has changelings for sure. I'm so confused. Before I decided on monk, I think I made one last-ditch attempt to get difficulty lowered, or at the very least, I tried to convince the other players to power game group dynamics in order to survive. Essentially, build characters around each other's abilities to work great together. The players were just, meh, we'll be fine. I mean, can you really blame them? You said yourself you didn't have a TPK. So, for all they know, this is fine. It's just hard. That's what made me decide on monk. I jacked up my AC, my saves, and made sure to have lots of attacks. I played as selfishly as I've ever played a character for the most part. Ally down? Not my problem. My character at low health? Monk teleports away, chugs potions, and rejoins the battle when I felt like it. Now then, the setting. Holy crap. The Cosmic Museum that Marzipan curates is now part of a larger mega structure. These two twin dragons of light and darkness created a multi-dimensional watchtower like the Justice League. This super base had portals to all realities and all dimensions, so mercenaries could get jobs from anywhere in all of reality. Dope. So that sounds pretty awesome, actually. So, similar to setting 2, we joined the Adventurers. Grr. Honestly, get over it. It's the Adventurers Guild. It's full of adventures. What else are you going to name it? Because we have nothing else to do. So what essentially followed is a setting of the week scenario where Darius Melvin sent us to a different campaign setting or piece of media to have a boss fight with maybe a gauntlet of enemies as a prelude, depending. We never stayed in any mission for a long time, so there wasn't any interesting tourism going on. As was before, so it is now. I don't remember everything that happened, so I shall share some of the most memorable moments. We went to Faerun for a bit. I don't remember the point of the mission, but I do recall that Drizzt Do'Urden was there as a gimme. At that point, I really hated that character for dumb reasons, but I didn't really get the chance to kill him. He either disappeared or got hit by a truck or something. I remember it being unsatisfying. Why? Okay. Nowadays, I kinda just hate the Drow in general for being a racist caricature of evil and a misogynistic caricature of feminism. I mean, I'm not gonna get into it because I know it's a long rant that I'll probably put in a video someday, honestly. That sounds like a good idea. But the Drow are evil. Yes, they're supposed to be evil. They're racist, they're slavers, they are kind of assholes overall. But there is very interesting lore behind that, and you could make some very interesting character studies on the Drow. I just hate this outlook of like, oh, the Drow are just caricatures of things. Yeah, we're all caricatures. Anyways, I am getting off topic. Back to the post. One of my favorite missions is one that, in retrospect, is really emblematic of Darius Melvin's DMing style. From a logistics standpoint, the mission made no sense. Once I describe what's transpiring, it'll be clear that no one could have forewarned about what was going to happen. The fact that this was a mission we got sent on is complete bunk. DM just wanted to have his cool edgy boss fight. So we step through the portal and arrive in a desert-like region. We make our way to the only civilization we see, some small town. The town is empty. Either everyone's been killed already, or Darius Melvin just wanted to rush to get to the good part, and he didn't even pretend to care about anything except his super cool boss fight. So, in the center of the town, we come face to face with Undead Jesus Christ boss fight. Okay, so we fight Leech Jesus. He's got a lot of hit points. As a lich, or whatever he was, he had a lot of immunities. At some point in the fight, I'm low on hit points, so I bamf out of there and chug me some potions, while the other PCs get Lich Jesus' full attention. We do eventually kill him, or destroy him if you're getting technical regarding undead. With that craziness wrapped up, we use our cross-dimensional Star Trek comlinks to tell the dragons that the mission is complete. Last mission that I recall before the final setting shift was the Metallocalypse M mission. We went to the M universe to protect the band as they were... Oh, is that a band? Is it like an actual... I will look this up later. To protect the band as they were giving a concert that was either summoning a demon or was just really cool. I think we went through notable locales in the show, but I am not very familiar, so the reference went mostly over my head. I believe Flaky Fred was delighted with it all. We get to the fighting bit, and it's either 10 or 20 army dudes. They're trying to kill us, and after that, they'll go kill the band. So we fight. After so long of Darius Melvin's bullcrap difficulty, I was having so much fun in this fight. The army dudes were all spaced far from each other, so AoEs were only getting 2 at a time. Their AC, not a problem for me, was somewhat high because they had Kevlar on or some nonsense. And the best part was that guns were hitting touch AC. Flaky Fred and Long Haul Luke's touch AC was garbage, which is normal, My very high AC was the same as my touch AC. I don't know what touch AC means, so this means nothing to me, but yay? Monk. The guns were all missing me and hitting them. The room was completely nondescript, so there was no cover anywhere. They were having a rough time, and I was breezing through. I would like to point out that the fact that the OP is having fun with this, the fact that he's being chill and his party members are dying, is very concerning behavior. At some point, Longhole Luke goes down to the automatic gunfire. He's in negatives and bleeding. Darius Melvin informs us that the army guys are going to fire on his unconscious body next turn and kill him if nothing is done. I go over to Luke and stuff him in my bag of holding and keep fighting. Next turn, Longhole Luke looks at me worried. What? I ask Luke. I had a portable hole in my backpack, Longhole Luke says to the table. For those of you not in the know, extra-dimensional items do not play well with each other. While a bag of holding can be inside a bag of holding with no problems, and a portable hole can be inside of a portable hole with no fuss, they do not get along. I think in the current editions you can't have one bag of holding inside another bag of holding. I think that would also cause the thing that he's about to describe. The resulting effect for our particular combo is that everything placed inside the bag of holding is lost forever. All my crap is just gone, which included Longhole Luke's character. Oh no! The bag of holding then transforms into the center of a 10-foot diameter singularity portal into the astral plane. Seconds before my character gets shunted into the nothingness of the astral, I shout to Flaky Fred's character to use all the money in my credit card to hire someone to track me down and port me back to base. The singularity sucks up the remaining army dudes. Flaky Fred survives. He completes the mission, meets the Metalocalypse band and parties with them. Darius Melvin then roleplays the totally necessary and untedious process of hiring a cleric from the Dragon Twins, waiting a day so he can pick the right spells, casting said spells, tracking my bored as F butt in the astral, finding me, and then porting us all back. As I try to remember the details leading us to the last setting shift, my memory fails. Either Marzipan decides to be a villain again, or Asmodeus comes back with a vengeance, or another of Darius Melvin pet occurring NPCs shows up to be the super big bad boss of the entire campaign. The big bad gains ultimate cosmic power somehow and destroys the Twin Dragon's multi-dimensional watchtower. We managed to escape and survive in an airship captained by someone that worked for the dragons. I think the dragons got killed too or absorbed by the big bad. So basically the big bad is doing the Kingdom Hearts thing. He's eating entire worlds and growing in power. And now we're going to use the Excelsior. If the ship had a name, I don't remember, so I'm giving it this one. To recruit allies all across the setting and worlds to fight the big bad darkness. Yeah, it's not nearly as cool as you're thinking. That's it for now. Next post concludes this mess, one way or another. Okay, I mean, I do have some concerns about the DM, but I am also growing increasing concerned about the OP. He is just sounding like he's butthurt about the DM's ruling and the fact that the other players didn't back him up, so he's salty and acting out. We'll see how it all ends in part 5, the final chapter. Feels interesting to tell this story completely. Over the years, I've told bits and pieces of this story to some other friends, and it's one of the best examples I have in arguments of no gaming is better than bad gaming. Advice I followed in another game that Darius Melvin ran, but that'll be a story for another time. On with the show. So, Longhole Luke, Flaky Fred, and I are on the Excelsior. We are informed we have to complete some missions in order to get some plot coupons and recruit allies for the fight against the big bad. We traveled to a few worlds that hadn't been swallowed up by the darkness. I forget if we recruit powerful individuals, armies, or a combination of both. Unfortunately, nothing in this whole process was memorable enough to stick in my brain. For this last part, I need to share some info imparted on me from Darius Melvin. I was originally going to write, "Some things happened and this is why Darius rushed things," but in retrospect, I have reason to doubt the veracity of these events. Darius Melvin. I was working on my computer where all my amazing notes were to give this campaign a super cool finish. It was so detailed that I had to keep it on the computer. It was too much to properly remember. My laptop screen fizzled, gave off an odor, and in a blind rage I punched it so hard that it completely stopped working. Irreparable. And that's a very big red flag. That's terrifying. Right, so that happened, and now Darius Melvin was going to cut the game short with the few things he could recall from his super detailed campaign notes that were so detailed he couldn't remember any of it except for what he ran. At this point, I was playing my last character, an elf evoker specialist wizard. I made my character be as old as possible for the stats and to shake things up. I think his con was a flat 10 after all the penalties. Darius Melvin thought it would be funny to roll his maximum age and then make my character be real close to dying and then taunt me that my character might die before the campaign is over because he might take too long to get allies and stuff. Longhaul Luke was an Asimar or something else paladin. Flaky Fred had flaked too much for Darius Melvin's taste, so he got kicked. So, the Excelsior powers up for the endgame. We're going to fight the Big Bad directly. So the Big Bad starts its final plan. It's going to travel back in time and conquer all of reality from the beginning of everything. Or something. We blast off in the pursuit of the Big Bad and either arrest his time travel short of the beginning or its plan was sometime after the beginning. The Excelsior teleports us to a cave, and we know that we have to go through this cave and we'll arrive at the boss arena. With my character's planner magic lore, I'm able to realize that the plane is undergoing some sort of upheaval. Some serious ish is going down. We pass by a few statues of what looks like some dudes that were petrified suddenly. Yup, we're back at setting 1, Baitor World. Our characters have no way of knowing who those people are, and my wizard, regrettably, does not have unpetrifying magic on him. Damn shame. Would have been funny to see what would have happened. Although, I think it would have still been disappointing. So, we get to some stairs and start climbing. We get to the top. At the top, the Big Bad had killed/eaten Asmodeus and is going to become the king of everything. Our mission is to kill him, release all the gods trapped under Asmodeus' throne, trigger the genesis of setting 2, and F off, I guess? So, Darius Melvin is a big fan of Final Fantasy. He sure loves those games. He likes them so much that he's going to incorporate elements of them into his RPGs, whether they're appropriate or not. What this means, dear reader, is that the final boss has phases. The boss has multiple health bars. Each phase the boss has different stats and new mechanics. Ordinarily, this isn't the worst thing in the world. You might have experienced something similar in your games. I dearly hope that at the time of those experiences, there weren't 2 players at the table. The boss had at least 3 stages, although it may have been 4 or 5. It was very long. A very long fight. 2 main things really pissed me off about this fight. The first is that Darius Melvin wouldn't say how many phases there would be, or how many hit points the boss had at any given moment. Normally, this isn't a bad thing. Most dungeon hackathons treat that information as privilege that you never extend to the players. I would argue that most DTRPGs treat that as information you shouldn't give out because you're trying to maintain immersion and there's no such thing as hit points if you're in the universe. You just have an overall health. The problem is that Darius Melvin gives the Big Bad video game boss transition invincibility between phases. I dumped time stops and delayed blast fireballs on the Big Bad like crazy for the first phase, and I'm reaching for more dice for rolling, and Darius Melvin stops me. He's changing phase. Stop rolling damage, Darius tells me. But I still deal damage and he's still there, I retort. When he changes form, his HP bar is resetting. Doesn't matter how much damage you dealt. He goes to 0, shifts to his next phase, and then he's at his new highest HP total. Darius Melvin informs. From this point in the fight, I'm holding back damage because I have a limited amount of boom boom, and I know the fight is going to be long as, somewhere. The second thing that really pissed me off happened in the second or third phase. At this point, the Big Bad is a giant skeleton thing that either casts a spell, smashes down his fist, or does something else depending on the AI script of the boss. That's funny. In that phase, the boss is popping off a bloody anti-magic bubble. The anti-magic bubble does not affect the boss or its abilities. just us. I believe that Luke has to keep reapplying his Smite Evil on the boss, which was worrisome because he didn't have that many of them and the boss did like to switch the AM bubble on and off a bit. At a point in the fight, we're taking way too much damage. Go figure. So use a spell called Resilient Sphere. Normally this spell is used to trap an enemy in a force bubble to take them out of a fight for a bit. The bubble is force, so it has a lot of magically defensive property and it has quite a few hit points. I had been using it on myself to avoid the big bad's hard to avoid area attack, but I put Luke in a bubble too to give us some breathing room to chug potions. Darius Melvin has the big bad switched on its anti-magic bubble and it approaches us. He starts declaring an attack on me when I remind him I'm still in my bubble. You're in an anti-magic field, your bubble goes away, Darius Melvin wrongly declares. I explained to him that the Resilient Sphere functions like a wall of force. Force effect structures continue existing inside an anti-magic field. That's why I picked the spell, versatile as F. Darius Melvin doesn't believe me. Show me, he says. This has been a long fight. We've been playing for a bit. I am very frustrated. I am already pissed from the boss having video gamey-ish that benefits Darius Melvin in a PC versus DM way. I ask him to just take me at my word. The rules are obscure, but I remember them. Nope. If I don't find them, the boss is going to attack me despite the fact that the spell working like it does is not only the reason I picked it, but also the reason I cast the bloody thing. 'Cause guess what? There's no cover or anything else in this room. Darius Melvin is also a big DBZ fan. I guess he really likes the hyperbolic time chamber. So there I am, looking all throughout the bloody PBH to confirm what I already knew. Several minutes pass. I love this game, but it's just hard to find sometimes. Darius Melvin giving 0 Fs and lifting 0 fingers to help or look up the info to speed it up. Thinking back, I think he was hoping that I had effed up and remembered something wrong. I eventually found the bloody thing, read it to him. He demanded to read it himself. After 10 to 20 minutes, at least it felt that long, battle resumed. His dumbass boss beating ineffectually on the force bubble inside the anti-magic field. I didn't even feel cocky or smug, just exhausted. Way too much time passes, way more fighting. Finally, the boss dies. We hop back on the Excelsior, return to our time, and then Luke and I's characters part ways and go back home. Minor epilogues, celebrations of our characters' achievements, and the nightmare ends. And that was that. That's all I can remember. Feel free to ask questions as they may spark more recollections and rejoice. Or not. A few more stories shall be coming with Darius Melvin. Even one where he was a player. Sounds. For now, this is it. And that's it indeed. That is a very long video. I suppose it's fitting that my quote-unquote comeback video will be this long, but I am at 1 hour and 12 minutes of recording time, and I still have to do the outro and then edit all this. Final thoughts. I think this is fundamentally a lack of communications issue, because it sounds like the player, the OP, wants something different than what the DM wants to run, and it sounds like the rest of the players either don't mind or don't care. It sounds like the player is frustrated. I don't think switching settings the way he did is bad. I don't think going back to the initial setting at the end is bad. I think he didn't know what he was doing and adapting on the fly and flying by the seat of his pants and didn't communicate enough. And that's always bad. DMs need to communicate with their players. You just have to do it. There's no way around it. Either you do that or stuff is going to go down like this. That's all for the first video of the year 2024. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm trying to listen to some feedback I received on a previous video and keeping my ramblings a little shorter to allow for more room for the actual RPG horror stories. So let me know how that's going. If you stayed all the way to the end, thank you. If you have feedback, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'm always looking for constructive criticism. It really helps me grow. If you enjoy listening to me rambling on about RPG things and reading these stories, please leave a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. I'm trying to get back to my initial schedule, which I usually upload once or twice a week, depending on how work goes. I am trying to do it more regularly, but we'll see how it goes. As always, have a good day, night, weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheerios!